92% of people who set goals never actually achieve them. Not because they lack motivation. Not because they are lazy. But because they are building habits the wrong way, using advice that sounds logical but is completely backwards from how your brain actually works. Welcome to Get Up Life. In the next 10 minutes, you are going to discover exactly why most habit advice fails, what neuroscience actually says about lasting behavioral change, and the one counterintuitive principle that high performers use to make new habits feel almost effortless. Most people have never heard this explained properly. By the end of this video, you will understand habit formation at a level that most people never reach. Let us start with some context. Humans have been trying to understand behavior change for thousands of years. Ancient Greek philosophers talked about the concept of ethos, the idea that character is formed through repeated action. Aristotle famously wrote that we are what we repeatedly do. But it was not until the 20th century that scientists began to rigorously study exactly how habits form in the brain. In the 1990s, researchers at MIT made a breakthrough discovery. They found that habitual behaviors are controlled by a region of the brain called the basal ganglia, a primitive structure deep in the brain that also governs emotions and pattern recognition. What made this remarkable was the realization that once a behavior becomes a habit, the prefrontal cortex, the part responsible for decision-making, essentially goes quiet. The brain stops working hard. It shifts into autopilot. This is why habits are so powerful and also why they are so difficult to override once formed. Charles Duhigg popularized this research in his landmark 2012 book The Power of Habit, introducing the world to what scientists call the habit loop. Every single habit, good or bad, follows the same neurological pattern. There is a cue, which triggers the brain to enter automatic mode. There is a routine, which is the behavior itself. And there is a reward, which tells the brain whether this loop is worth remembering for the future. Understanding this loop is the foundation of everything. But here is what nobody talks about. Knowing the habit loop intellectually does almost nothing for most people. You can understand exactly how habits work and still fail to build them. Why? Because the real problem is not knowledge. It is implementation. And implementation requires a completely different strategy than what most self-help content teaches. Let us talk about the biggest myth in habit building. You have almost certainly heard that it takes 21 days to form a habit. That number comes from a 1960 observation by plastic surgeon Maxwell Maltz, who noticed that amputees took about 21 days to stop feeling phantom limb sensations. He applied this loosely to habit formation in his book Psychocybernetics, and somehow the idea stuck for 60 years. Here is the actual science. A 2010 study published in the European Journal of Social Psychology by Philippa Lally at University College London followed 96 participants over 12 weeks. The real average time to form an automatic habit was 66 days. And depending on the complexity of the behavior, it ranged from 18 days all the way to 254 days. This matters enormously because millions of people quit at day 22, believing they failed, when in reality they were just getting started. So what actually works? The first evidence-based principle is called habit stacking. Coined by author James Clear in his book Atomic Habits, the concept is simple but powerful. You link a new habit to an existing one. The formula goes like this: after I do my current habit, I will do my new habit. Your brain already has deep neural pathways built around existing routines. When you attach a new behavior to one of those existing pathways, you are essentially borrowing the neurological infrastructure your brain has already built. Instead of trying to create a habit from scratch, you are just adding one more link to an already strong chain. Research shows this dramatically increases follow-through rates. The second principle is reducing friction. B.J. Fogg, a behavioral scientist at Stanford and author of Tiny Habits, spent years studying what he calls motivation waves. He found that motivation naturally rises and falls in waves and is deeply unreliable as a long-term strategy. What actually drives consistent behavior is making the desired action as easy as possible to start. Fogg recommends starting absurdly small. Want to build a reading habit? Start with 2 pages. Want to exercise? Start with 2 minutes. The goal is not the outcome on day 1. The goal is to cast a vote for the identity of someone who reads or someone who exercises. Over time, those votes accumulate into a fundamentally different self-image, and behavior follows identity. Here's where it gets really interesting. Most people try to change their behavior by focusing on outcomes. They want to lose 20 pounds. They want to write a book. They want to wake up at 5 in the morning. But here is the problem. Outcome-based thinking puts the reward at the end of a long road, and human brains are wired to discount future rewards heavily in favor of present comfort. This is called hyperbolic discounting, and it is why you know the salad is better for you but you order the burger anyway. Identity-based habit formation flips this entirely. Instead of saying I want to run a marathon, you say I am a runner. Instead of saying I want to quit smoking, you say I am not a smoker. The shift in language sounds subtle, but the psychological impact is enormous. Your brain works extraordinarily hard to behave consistently with the identity it holds about itself. Now let us talk about the role of environment design, because this is the most underrated tool in behavioral change. A landmark study by and Thorndike published in JAMA Internal Medicine in 2012 showed that simply rearranging the placement of food in a hospital cafeteria, making water more visible than soda, putting fruit at eye level, caused measurable changes in dietary choices without any motivational messaging at all. Nobody was told to change. Nobody was motivated. The environment changed and behavior followed automatically. This is profound. Your habits are not just the result of your willpower. They are largely the result of what your environment makes easy versus what it makes difficult. If you want to read more, put the book on your pillow. If you want to stop scrolling at night, charge your phone outside the bedroom. Design your environment for the person you want to become, not the person you currently are. But here is what nobody talks about when it comes to environment. The social environment is just as powerful as the physical one. A groundbreaking study by Nicholas Christakis and James Fowler found that your likelihood of becoming obese increases by 57% if a close friend becomes obese. The same principle applies to exercise, smoking, and even happiness levels. The people around you are constantly shaping what feels normal. If everyone in your circle sleeps late, working out at 6 in the morning will always feel like an act of rebellion. But if your social environment treats early rising and daily exercise as just what people do, consistency becomes effortless. This is why communities, accountability partners, and identity-driven groups produce such dramatically better results than going it alone. The final deep principle is what researchers call implementation intentions. A meta-analysis covering 272 studies and over 35,000 participants found that people who specified exactly when, where, and how they would perform a new behavior were 2 to 3 times more likely to follow through than those who simply intended to do it. Not twice as motivated. Not twice as disciplined. Just twice as specific. When you say I will meditate on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 7 in the morning in my kitchen before I make coffee, you are programming a specific cue into your environment. The vague intention becomes a concrete plan, and your brain responds to concrete plans with concrete action. So here's what this all comes down to. Building habits that stick is not about willpower. It is not about motivation. It is not about grinding harder than everyone else. It is about understanding how your brain actually operates and designing your life to work with that biology instead of against it. Start small enough that starting feels easy. Stack new behaviors onto existing ones. Design your physical and social environment to make the right choices the obvious choices. Shift your identity before you expect your behavior to shift. And get specific, not just what you will do, but exactly when and exactly where. These are not motivational slogans. They are scientifically validated strategies with decades of research behind them. The question is not whether they work. The question is whether you will actually use them. Before you go, if you learned something new today, hit that like button right now. It genuinely helps this channel grow. Subscribe to Get Up Life for a new video every single day. We will see you in the next one.